Welcome to the Lady Landlords podcast, where we empower women to gain financial independence through real estate investing. I'm your host, Becky Nova, founder of Lady Landlords. If you're ready to buy, manage, and grow your real estate portfolio, then let's get started.
Have you ever felt completely alone while investing in real estate as a woman? If so, this episode is for you. It is something that I see so often when women end up finding Lady Landlords and we come into the Facebook group, we listen to the podcasts like this one, read our books, watch YouTube, but we still feel alone. And even though we're starting to collect up all of this information, we don't really have anybody else to talk it through with, to share it with, to hold us accountable. And sometimes I notice that it's not necessarily a lack of information that holds women back, but it can actually be the idea of being alone, not feeling accountable, and not having anybody to really bounce those ideas off of. And that's why I truly believe that working together as a community is really what helps us as investors be able to grow and scale faster. And there are so many different ways to be able to do that. So in today's episode, we're going to be breaking down why investing by yourself can actually slow you down, why being in the wrong rooms can also slow you down, and what are the red flags for that, and how finding the right community for you and having the right women around you can really make all of the difference. So let's hop in here. First thing that we're going to talk about is the hidden cost of investing by yourself. This, oddly enough, is actually why I started Lady Landlords back in 2020. I felt like the only woman in the room. I would go to some networking events. I was working really just with my partner at that period of time, my now husband, Emilio, and there was nobody to really talk to about these things. After we bought that first property that we really bought as our own home, that just happened to end up being a duplex that we were able to house hack, where we rented out one side and lived in the other. When I said, you know what, this is kind of fantastic. I want to be able to grow this. I want to be able to scale this. This is where my future is. It was like crickets. There was nobody that I could talk to, nobody that really understood what I was going through, because I just hadn't found those right people there. So what did I do? In that space, when I completely felt by myself, I went down a complete rabbit's hole, to be honest. I remember at the time I was living in Westchester County, about an hour north of New York City, and I had a commute because I was still working in cancer research down in Manhattan at that point in time. And on my train down to the city and back every single day, I was listening to actually other people's podcasts. I was listening to anything I can kind of get my hands on that had to deal with financial literacy. I was reading books, all of that sort. I wasn't taking any action. I was just sitting there just collecting up information. And I'll be honest, I remember listening to episodes being like, I'm not going to buy a property in Iowa. How does this help me? Or I'm listening to a topic about VA loans, which I don't have access to, and that's not a fit for me. This information is not helping me. And I just felt like I was going on this cycle, hearing about all these other people's success that had nothing to do with me and actually was kind of a waste of my time because it wasn't anything that was pushing a needle forward for me. So instead of being efficient and actually taking action, I got myself stuck into analysis paralysis. I then started researching all of these different options. Well, do I go Section 8? Do I do seller financing? Do I do wholesaling? Do I go and create my own deals off market? What did all of those different things look like? And instead of being able to really have a clear plan, I was being pulled in, and it just kept me from not being able to take action because I was just learning a little bit of all of these different things that, once again, really kind of did not apply to me at that point in time. I had nobody to kind of bounce those ideas off of and say, hey, how would this actually work? Maybe this was a cool idea I got from a podcast, which is awesome, but is it actually feasible? Does it make sense for me? I had nobody to really talk to about those things. And at this point, I was already managing one of my own properties, and I was having a ton of questions about landlording, and I had nobody to talk those things through. And I think that was the point where I really wanted to create the community that I have within Lady Landlords, because I'll never forget one of the first incidents that happened with tenants of mine. There was this couple that moved into one of our apartments, and it was a 3-bedroom for just the two of them. And they said, oh, well, we're going to use the third bedroom just as a closet for ourselves. So because of that, we knew they had a lot of clothes. So because of that, we got a phone call a little while later that mentioned, well, our closet rod actually snapped and broke. So we need a new one. And I remember looking at my husband being like, well, are we responsible for that? Was it because there was too many clothes? Are we responsible to be able to buy one? All of those different things kind of went through like our mind, and it really set the tone for how landlording worked and what that was going to look like for us moving forward. Just to answer that question, we figured it's a $20 closet rod. We'll just buy that. But it was those types of like kind of debates that was going through our heads that I said, I really need somebody to kind of bounce this idea off of. And that was really kind of what started Lady Landlords at that point in time. But going it on my own, did not really have anybody that was checking in with me, that was holding me accountable, that was really pushing me, that was able to talk through these things. Yes, I had my partner, but if you've listened to the Lady Landlords podcast for a while, you will know my husband was not on board with investing at all, especially at the beginning here. He wanted to buy that one home. He just wanted a place to live. He wanted to make sure that, especially in the New York City market, that we were not in a space where we were spending all of our money just to be able to live ourselves. So he was okay with buying that first house hack, but that was really kind of it. There was never the idea. So to be honest, I was kind of working against my own husband at that very beginning as we started to grow and be able to do those pieces. Still to this day, the way that we break up what our responsibilities are, I tend to handle a little bit more of the legal finance side of things, acquisition side of things, and my husband deals a little bit more with day-to-day operations. So even with that, I still didn't have anybody to really bounce ideas off of or talk to because we were in two completely different lanes at that point in time. So, what bringing that community together was really the goal of how do we learn from each other? What pieces are we able to take from other people? I get so inspired when I read through the Lady Landlords community and learn about what other projects women are working on. And it's able for me to think through, is this something I want to learn more about? How does this fit into my portfolio? Is this something that I would like to do? Or is this not? It's really the idea of almost getting to borrow experiences, borrow education from other women in the community. And that really kind of gets people thinking about where they want to go next. There was a woman that we had in one of our virtual networking events that really wanted to make that transfer from residential real estate to commercial properties. And luckily, there was somebody else on the call that had been in commercial real estate for years, and they were able to chat through what that looked like. And it wasn't actually something that member had done for quite some time. She stayed in residential, but I got like a call like 2 years later being like, hey, here's an update. Here's what I'm doing. I'm now in commercial. And it was really great that the seed was really planted on that call to see what other women can really grow into. And it's that exchanging of ideas that I find so important. And that kind of goes to my second point for today's podcast, which is about why being in those right rooms change everything. So listen, we have other episodes here on the Lady Landlords podcast about how to navigate networking events and how to meet people and how to really go through that space. So I'm not going to get into that today. Feel free to go back and listen to that episode all about how to best use networking events to your advantage. But what I will say is all rooms are not created equal. I remember the first networking events that I did, and I used to have a business in nutritional consulting years ago, and I did a lot of networking for that, even before real estate was a thing in my mind. And at that point in time, it was the same thing. I was running around Manhattan, going to all these different networking events, and I'd either see the same people and was like, oh my God, that's fantastic. I'm so happy this person's here. Or then I'd be like, oh my God, how do I escape around that person? Right? You're still going to find those things, but you have to really seek out and test out different networking events and see what's going to be a right fit for you. A couple of years ago, a lot of things moved virtually. So it was so much easier all of a sudden to be able to say, hey, let me hop on a virtual networking event in a different state, in a different location. I might be buying in New York. Maybe I wanted to consider buying something in Indiana. Cool. I can go join a virtual networking event and learn about the market, learn about the contacts, find some trusted boots on the ground, and I don't have to actually leave my home. It made a huge change with that, but they are not all equal. You really have to go and sort out, where are your people? Where are they talking about things that really interest you? Where are you making connections that you feel comfortable with? And who do you feel like is being a gatekeeper versus who and where do you feel like you can get some information from? And that's what I feel like is so important to come into a place like Lady Landlords and be able to plug into what we have. We have, besides the podcast here, our Facebook group where we just have hundreds of posts a day in that group of all women just sharing their experiences, answering other people's questions. You can make your question anytime that you need there and get a ton of different answers and perspectives all about that. It really starts to take things from just theory in that podcast or what you've heard from reading a book to really saying, how does that actually work in a landlord's business? How does that actually play out in real life? And I would encourage you to test a few of them. We do have, if you've not been to a Lady Landlords virtual networking event, we have our next virtual networking event coming up on April 2nd. And then we will have our next in-person event that will be coming up. We have one in the Dominican Republic on March 21st, and then the next in-person event in the United States is going to be in the New York area, and that is June 5th, if I remember correctly. So if you'd like to join those, do make sure that we have a couple around different states around the United States as well. So make sure to plug into those, and we always offer the virtual networking events. So depending on where you are always invited to come and connect. It's really cool, and it's something I've loved over the years of seeing the same names in our Facebook group. And we have over 55,000 women in that community right now. And it's really great when then I have a woman that shows up on the call that I've known for years because I've gotten to communicate with them and I know what they're working on and know what they're building. And now I get to actually have a conversation with them and chat with them. And that's what happens on those calls. We go through a topic of the month and a short training, and then we get to actually chat with each other in small groups. We get to start exchanging what is the right lender that somebody used, and we give out contact information if somebody has the right person. We talk about maybe who not to use. We talk about what pitfalls we found in possible deals or what things popped up for us as red flags versus what were things that all of a sudden we realized were really working. And we want to be able to share that with that. I feel like the number one answer I get when people leave our virtual networking calls is that they feel inspired at the end of that. So even if you learn information that you don't necessarily need to use in that exact moment, you're going to get information that you're going to need as you continue to scale, as you continue to be able to grow. That took some time, and I really take building what that virtual networking event and that community and our in-person events very seriously because I've been to a ton of events that honestly were not a fit for me. Okay. And I totally get it. You might come to one of my events and be like, nope, this chick is not for me. The way that she runs things is not for me. And that's totally cool. But I have to be true to myself and I have to be true to what I was looking for because that's really what I share through Lady Landlords are all the things that I was looking for that I wish I had known. And those are the things that I share. That's really what creates every single episode here on the podcast. All the events that we do, all the mentorship programs, all the courses we have, everything like that really comes just from information that I wish that I had known before I started investing. So when you're going to events, and like I said, I don't care if it's a Lady Landlords event or somebody else's event, just make sure you feel comfortable there. What's really important is to find people that actually have value there. I remember that there was one event that I went to years ago and I felt like, I gotta be honest, I felt like meat. I felt like I was surrounded by a bunch of vultures that were looking for someone like me. I was one of the few investors, even though it was a real estate investing meetup. I feel like everybody there was somebody that provided a service to an investor like myself. So all of a sudden, everybody I felt like just saw me. And I don't need 19 realtors. I don't need 19 wholesalers. I don't need 6 attorneys. I needed to find my peoples and my team. And I've done that over these years. But it was really uncomfortable, to be honest, to be in a place where I didn't actually get to speak with other investors, where I just felt like I was sitting there being sold things from absolutely every person that I spoke to. And that was no longer a fit for me. Also, there were some other rooms that I've been in that people just were more there to showboat than anything else. They really kind of debated and almost kind of fought over who had the most doors. And once again, if you listen to the podcast, you know I don't care about doors. I want to learn from the person that's making the most amount of money with the least amount of doors because that person's probably working less. I want to do that. I did not want to be in a room where people are talking about how they're buying their 1500th door or how they're acquiring this or how they're acquiring these other things that I had no care to do. I got to be honest, I'm kind of looking for a simple life here. I like to live on my beach. I want to be home with my daughter, and that's actually a growing goal of mine that I did not expect. That is very relevant for me in this present moment. I want a simple life. I want to own just enough doors and make just enough money so that way I don't have to go back to a 9 to 5 and that I could stay home with my daughter, that I can go and hang out on my beach here in the Dominican Republic, that I can go on vacation when I want, and I don't need for things, and I can feel financially secure and stable and not worry about anything else. I'm not in a place of hustle and competition right now. That's not me personally. That's totally okay if that's for you, and that's the right space that you want to be able to be in. Also, I wanted to be around other women. I did not want to go to any other event where I was going to have men explain things to me as if I didn't own any other property. Not there. And I got to say, I have found some fantastic groups over the years that have men that have absolutely welcomed me. After my self imposed 3 months maternity leave, I actually did go right before I left New York to come back to the Dominican Republic. I actually did go to a networking event, and I hadn't been in this networking event in probably about a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. And I walked in and I saw a bunch of familiar faces and a bunch of men that came over and said hi and just wished me well and introduced me to other people, being like, oh, you got to talk to Becky. Like, she's doing some really cool things. And that really meant a lot to me. But I want to be around other women. I want to see women that are juggling careers and family life and pressure of being a mom and everything else that we need to do as providers, as women, as nurturers. I want to be around those women that are really growing. And honestly, I think it's really, really cool to see what women can do when we work together. The partnerships, the growth. I've always found Lady Landlords our secret place of confidence. I've never been anti-men. I've never been an anti-men group. That's not what Lady Landlords is about. To me, Lady Landlords is really being able to come together as women to get the education we need to go out into an environment that actually is still male dominated. And to go out there and be able to talk about finance and talk about lending and talk about legalities and to be able to do that and stand in our own right and know that we deserve a place in that room just as much as anybody else. And that made the difference to me. I want to be in a place where I have multiple investors in that room, people that are just starting, people that have growth, people that have completely surpassed me with what they're doing. I want to pick everybody's brain because everybody has something to share. I want to be in a place where people are willing to share, willing to be open and honest about what's going on in the portfolio, what they're doing, what they're growing, who they're working with, all of those different things. And I want people that are open to collaborating and talking through what that is. For me, that comes with the idea, especially as a woman, to be in a place where I feel safe asking questions. Even when I was a beginner, I want to make sure I can ask questions and I don't want to feel judged by it. I don't want to feel like, oh, my portfolio isn't significant enough, or all because I have a beginner question that I'm not the same value as anybody else in that room. I want to be in a place where I can ask those beginner questions and feel completely comfortable. I want to be in a place where I feel like I can ask more questions and people can see me growing as an investor. And I feel like it's those types of rooms that's where you see magic happen. That those are the types of rooms where business is exchanged, where dollars are exchanged, where partnerships are created, where growth is created. And that to me is the entire point of networking and what that growth can look like. It's finding partners, it's finding about different funding options and different lending. We in Lady Landlords are going to be doing a creative financing workshop on April 28th. And a lot of those different types of financing are things that have come to me from networking. And we're going to talk about so many different types of financing that you never really hear about. And I want to make sure to really kind of give kudos to the people that have introduced me to those types of lendings over the years. This is the place where I want to be able to find good contractors because we know that that is worth their weight in gold. All those different things should be happening in a good community. And I think that's really important to be able to look through and realize real estate really is a team sport. And we want people around there. And we want people around us that are going to support us, collaborate with us, be honest with us. And I think that makes a complete difference. And that to me is really what creates a community rather than doing this alone. So, main message of my day today, if you feel completely alone and isolated as your growing portfolio, you do not have to. You do not have to do this alone. Okay. And like I said, I do not care if you participate in a Lady Landlords event or our mentorship, as we do have a small group mentorship that we do where people can really get to know each other and are supportive and work together for that. I don't care if that's the right fit for you or somewhere else, but do know that you are not alone in this and that your community, your peoples are out there. And real estate can grow faster when you have those right people around you. And it's important to find what that looks like. So, my homework to you is research a couple different groups and options and events that you can test out and see where you feel the most comfortable. Try a few different things. Try some female-based things, try some co-ed-based things, try some local things, try some virtual things. But this week, go look around, see what you can try, see what you are willing to be able to get yourself to and feel comfortable and be like, hey, these are the people, these are the women that are doing what I want to do. And therefore, they're the ones that I want to attach myself and go in on that. Say, that's it. I'm going to commit. I'm going to go to those events. I'm going to join that mentorship. I'm going to be a part of that because that really is what's going to open your world to opportunities, options, partners, money, so many different things that are going to make an impact and trickle down to your life. If you would like to test out the Lady Landlords events, like I said, our next virtual event is coming up on April 2nd. I will put the link down in the show notes so that way you can register. Come check us out. Come join us. And I hope to see you there and back in the Lady Landlords Facebook community. Thanks so much for joining me today. Please do make sure to hit that subscribe button so you do not miss the next episode of the Lady Landlords podcast. We release new episodes every single Tuesday. And if you have a moment, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. What reviews do is they help other women be able to find our community. So if you have a moment to be able to pay it forward and make sure another woman is not alone or feeling isolated, please make sure to take a moment to leave us a review. Thanks so much and see you back in the Lady Landlords Facebook community.
Thank you for listening to the Lady Landlords podcast. If you're feeling stuck in your real estate investing journey, visit lady-landlords.com to book a 15-minute orientation call with me and see if you're ready to join our mentorship program. Or you can subscribe to our newsletter and join our Facebook group for exclusive real estate investing tips and offers. Invest with confidence. Become a Lady Landlord today.